All right, guys, we need our trays. We could be psychopaths together and I could show you my spreadsheet. I have been going crazy with the humidity aspect of this. What do I do? You know, nothing happening with my seeds, and I was getting a little bit anxious about it. Every time I ask ChatGPT, it's like, patience, child. These are eventually gonna be the cucumbers. Well, that's great. I guess you could say it's a downfall of having a much bigger greenhouse. I imagined this, I made this. I'm really proud of myself for that. But these are the things that I'm choosing to learn, and some of it is learning the hard way. We are getting the rest of the seed blocks made today, and we are not, well, I don't think we need to create any more seed blocks for the rest of the season. I mean, I have 9 trays right now, and my intention is to fill those trays completely up. Can't wear socks, it's too hot. Can't wear socks, so what do I? Well, now that I've done this, I know probably going to be easier next year to just make them all in one shot, because you could always re-wet them when it's time to sow in them. And then I'll have things like cucumber and squash that I won't be sowing now, but that when I do, I will have blocks ready. Zooks, favorite? They love zucchini. Zucchini and carrot. Carrots are their favorite things in the whole world. I'm gonna grow you guys your own special carrots. Perlite. Custines. More. Okay, much better. Oh, these gloves are so much better too. They're better than neoprene. They're just waterproof gardening gloves. Yes, nice, those are beautiful. I think this is a record for how fast I've completed a tray. Having a big tub like this is essential. I would not be able to do this without this. Oh, my hands feel so much stronger with better gloves. Okay, there's the rest of it. Oops, all the rest. Alright, all the rest of this then. That's all I have. I'm out of perlite, and I'm almost out of worm castings. You know what? Let's just be out of worm castings. Okay, I'm out of everything. That's it. I don't plan to buy more. Kind of, yeah, I use less water. Yeah, they're pretty good. Like, I've gotten a kind of a good flow, like I could press it against the bottom here. These are eventually gonna be the cucumbers, marigolds, squash, the warmer seasons veggies. You are so silly. Kilo, you are a silly little boy. Oh, it's gonna be nice to clean it all up, put it all away. Oh, you're joking. Really? Seriously? Okay, garbage and garbage. This is trash and this is trash. Well, that's great. Now I'm soaked. Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Just kidding. I set you up in here. I'm going to show you what's been working really well in the greenhouse and what I've needed to modify pretty much on the fly. There have been a couple of things that haven't worked very well. It's put me into a little bit of a panic because I don't want to lose seeds. Kind of had to tell myself it's inevitable. I'm not going to do it all perfectly the first time around. To expect that is just to expect failure. Or maybe it's like not to expect failure. I don't know. I think you know what I mean. If you saw some of my last videos, you would know that I very quickly realized that the space that I built out was not going to be sufficient for the number of seeds that I wanted to start. I originally started this shelf down here, and I had to go back and add the second one. And while I was adding the second one, I decided to add a little corner over here. And after I added that one over there, I decided to add this one over here. I had to get myself used to where I was going to set things up, like the spaces that I actually gravitated toward to do certain tasks. I did find that I liked to sow seeds over here, but once this fills up, I don't want to move a tray to have to sow seeds. Still kind of working out what that looks like to have a well-lit area where I can sow seeds. I might just have to move a tray out of the way, or eventually I come up with a dedicated seed starting location. Over here I have my gardening gloves. I've got a heat mat. I'm not going to say yet what all of my seeds are. I will do that in this video in just a moment. I have my surge protector and I have everything plugged into this. Because it has been so cold, I've needed to run a heater. I have a little heater. I've really just been plugging this in as an emergency, so the past couple of days have been needing to use this. What's the temperature in here right now? It's 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That's very cold. I guess you could say it's a downfall of having a much bigger greenhouse. I still have some openings up top. Haven't decided yet if I'm going to close those off. I already know for next year I am going to have to do something a little bit differently to keep this space a lot more insulated, a lot more warm. I still have this leading to an extension cord that is plugged into an outlet on the exterior of the house. So that is actually convenient. Pretty good considering I didn't expect to have any electricity in here, and now I've got a whole thing going. I don't know how I thought I was going to do it without electricity. I have really been struggling with the humidity dome. Now I know this isn't a true humidity dome. It's not creating humidity. I still have to figure out a solution. I was actually going to build custom little trays and put plastic wrap over them. It doesn't work to put a toothpick in a soil block and then lay plastic on top of it. The toothpick ends up eating into the soil block and making it fall apart. Because the plastic wasn't staying up here, I put a board cut to length down here and wrapped the plastic kind of around it and behind it to keep it on. It's really super convenient. Also, each night I've been putting on a frost cloth so I can attach it right up there on the board as well. The lights that I have, they're like 6,000 lumens each. I was using shop lights that were about 2,200 lumens a piece, and there was nothing happening with my seeds, and I was getting a little bit anxious about it. So I ended up switching all of this over to these lights right here. They came in a 10 pack for $100, which isn't that bad, and they're very powerful. They're very strong. I started to notice within the first day of having them installed that they were already making a difference with how some of the seedlings were starting to peak up. As far as how I have the lights attached, I just have zip ties, and that way I could move them up, I can move them down as I need to. They hang in there very nicely. I brought my shoe rack out here, and I've got on there my tomatoes, I've got onions, a couple different things which I'll show you here in a minute. My poor yucca plant is just absolutely struggling still. I showed this in my episode where I was building out the interior of the greenhouse, but this is a zip tie dispenser, and this is so incredibly handy. I use so many zip ties. We talked about humidity dome. I do still need to do something different. I would love so much if you have a suggestion on something that you've done that works for you, or you just have something you would recommend, please let me know. I have been going crazy with the humidity aspect of this because I just haven't found a good solution, because I also need to water these blocks probably a lot more consistently than I should need to. I don't know. some more lights in here. I do love it. I'm also glad that I put gravel down on the ground. I don't do a lot of potting related stuff in here. I really want to keep the gravel clean and clear of dirt. I don't want to encourage plant life to start growing in the gravel because it could go downhill very fast when you start dropping clumps of dirt. So I do all of my potting stuff outside. I've been making my soil blocks mostly in the garage, and as it was warmer, I was making them outside like you saw earlier. When the weather got a little bit warmer, I was finding a lot of little gnats in here, a lot of little tiny bugs, things just flying around. These little yellow things, I got them on Amazon, a giant pack of them. These attract the little flies that want to munch and crunch on the seeds. Some of this is like just making me a little crazy because I come in here every day and I don't see a ton of stuff going on. There are some trays where I see a ton of stuff going on, and then other trays where I don't see much going on, and that makes me a little bit nervous, I guess. I also have a light timer, which is very convenient. I don't have it plugged into anything right now because I ordered another light timer that has additional outlets so that I can plug in multiple strands of lights. Also, I can't turn on the heater when all the lights are on because I've tripped the circuit every time I do that. I turn the heater on at night when I turn all the lights off. Some other things that I have in here that have made sewing very simple is a little container of toothpicks. I said a few videos ago that I got this idea from Blossom and Branch. It has been one of the best things I've ever discovered because the seeds stick so nicely and it makes it so easy to sew really tiny seeds. I have scissors over here. I also keep a little container where I can throw pieces of garbage away, like the tops of seed packets. And I've also got garden tags. I got these little things called garden markers, which were recommended by some gardening channels that I watch because a Sharpie is just gonna end up wearing off. I've got things like twine back here for my cut flower garden, and I'm so excited for you to see it. I am going to be using black twine to keep everything together. Last year I used netting, which I pulled tight, and I put multiple layers of netting down. I really didn't like it. It was very difficult to pick it up at the end of the season, and it felt very limiting. I didn't put one level up high enough, so everything would flop over before it reached the next level. If your beds are not perfectly square, you end up with a weird shape. It doesn't go on very easily. It was just driving me absolutely crazy. So this year I'm gonna try twine, and I chose black just to have it be a little less apparent that I just had string or twine all over everything. I don't think it's gonna stand out as much as something like this. Back here, I've got vermiculite for the tops of some of my seeds. And then I have little tools. I was misting my soil blocks. I still haven't quite figured out when to not mist them. Do you always bottom water? Something I'm kind of struggling with. If you know, I would love to hear from you. Comment down below because I don't know. I'm top watering, but then people are like, don't do that because you get fungus. I don't really know yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm trying really hard not to enter into this panicky space, this panicked like, oh my God, I ruined all of them kind of feeling, like, oh no, why is nothing sprouting? Every time I ask ChatGPT, it's like, patience, child. I'm being patient. Where I left you the other day, I had finished making every single one of my soil blocks. So everything that is in here is pretty much going to be everything that I sow. There are going to be a couple things that go directly into the ground. Now, I told you about my spreadsheet last time. We could be psychopaths together and I could show you about how did I go from never gardening before. Okay, that's not true. I've gardened within the past 2 months, from having no greenhouse to having a greenhouse with soil blocks, with lights. It's like trial by fire almost, because I don't want to see all the work that I've been doing go to waste. There was a moment when I built the greenhouse and I couldn't sow my seeds out here because it was too cold, where I was like, did I need this? Did I need to do this project? Could I have like spent the money elsewhere? Could I have done something else? And now it just feels like it's part of who I am, part of what I love to do. Nothing compares to the feeling of looking around and thinking, I imagined this, I made this. I'm really proud of myself for that. I encourage you too. If you're building a greenhouse, you're gonna be so proud of yourself for finishing something like this. It's just like, even if you you don't even need it. I want to talk about the water situation. I filled up a bucket of water just to make sure that I have enough available because I was filling up these little bottles constantly. You will need more water than you think you do. Find an easy way to access water. I have the hose right now hooked up to the drip irrigation system still. I know, that's gonna be another video. So stick around and subscribe to my channel if you wanna find out if all of that hours and weeks and days of work that I did last season to get the drip system up and running, I'm gonna have to redo it all. Would love for you to come back and find out. Also, I want to be careful because I do have a lot of electrical over here, so I don't want to be careless about having water near where I have electrical. Never a good idea. Come down here. Let's look at some of what I have sown. Down here I have tomatoes. Oh, I got some little tomatoes coming up, but they're like, can you hear that? Hard as a rock. And it's frustrating. Let me show you what we're gonna do. I have turkey basters. We are gonna baste the shit out of watering. You have to water a lot more than you think you do. Now, I did not plan for that. I did not anticipate how much water I would end up needing for these blocks. I did buy moisture wicking mats. However, I'm somebody who will try to get answers before I dive into doing something. And in researching moisture wicking mats, I found one person who talked about the downfalls. And a big downfall of doing that is that sometimes the seeds can grow into the mats. What started as nice soil blocks where you're not disrupting the root system of the plant becomes having to rip the seed right off. My tomatoes are really not doing as much as they probably should right now, which is a little bit scary, which is also why I have this block on here because I want to elevate them to get them closer to the light. That did make a difference. They're just not going that fast. Down here, this little tray is doing well. These are a bunch of Snapdragon. I originally started off using the catering trays with the lids. Those took up way too much space. Also, the thing that I'm trying to do with the soil blocks is make sure that the blocks in the middle of the tray are also getting water. It's important not to rush the process. Like, I really have to talk to myself. So I'm like, why do I have to water so much? Like, oh my God, I'm gonna kill all my seeds because I don't have enough water. So here, finally have some lizanthus coming up. Okay, what else do we have? These are not going well. I don't know, I'm so like, what do I do? What do I do? You know? Oh, dahlia. They don't need water. These are fresh. I just sowed these yesterday. These are my onion. I have these guys. These are peppers. I have my peppers on a heat mat. A heat mat doesn't get that hot. It's warm, so essentially it's safe to have on the wooden surface like this. All right, so this plastic makes it a little bit easier because I can just bring it up just like this. Ugh, yeah, just like that. Don't worry about me, I'm just like having a time with this. I feel like I'm ruining my seeds. Up here, these are fresh, I just sowed them yesterday. It's a bunch of marigold and some sage. Marigold is really good to have as a companion plant to a lot of things because it attracts a lot of beneficial pests. Beneficial pests. Over here, I've got echinacea. In here I have lupin. I think out of everything that is doing something, my lupin are doing the best. Lupin. And then next to them, I have echinacea. Also, this process has made me too aware of how crooked my shelves are, how not level they are. Just have to make sure that the water flows evenly throughout the tray and that I don't have the water just concentrated in one area. Again, it's the patience, it's being okay with the trial as much as sometimes I say I'm okay with making mistakes and learning. It still sucks to make mistakes. You know, you don't wanna make mistakes. This is complicated. It's a complicated process. It might be easier next year, but these are the things that I'm choosing to learn, and some of it is learning the hard way. I've got parsley, sage, champagne bubbles, poppies, and China aster. Celosia, they're starting to peak up. Straw flower, oregano, chives, and marjoram. Hyssop, And stalks. My stalks are actually doing really well. Kind of, I think. This is, what is this? Yarrow. A couple different types of yarrow, I think. It looks like I've watered everything. Here's what I'm thinking I can do. I am putting blocks along everything so that I can run some plastic wrap down these. It'll keep them a little bit warmer. Try this first. Oh, okay. This can all go in the garbage. So I'm gonna use this piece because the plastic is a little easier to work with. I'm just trying to close off as much as I can. Okay, this actually works a lot better. A little bit better, is it? I guess. Not an ideal solution, but it's something for now. I feel like I'm just gonna have to build something. Like with the frost cloth, and the board being up here makes it so much easier for me to just put the cloth against it and push it up against the side of the greenhouse. It's a moth. Okay. I wanted to show you this. Now I'm not gonna fill them all out tonight, but I'll do one. I created myself a couple little systems. So I noticed as I went along, there were certain seeds that needed certain requirements together. Like not all of them need to be under light, not all of them need vermiculite, some of them need humidity domes, others do just fine without one. So I found myself trying to map out how everything was ultimately going to sit together. I created little tray diagrams so I could map out for myself which seeds I'm sowing where. Let's do one tray. I'll show you what I mean. So this needs warm, sweet California red, sweet Cali yellow, sweet berry wine. Fun fact about me that might not be so fun, but more just neurotic. Because my handwriting is so stylized. I had a really hard time writing fast as a kid in school, writing notes. I would scribble everything and then I would spend hours rewriting my notes just so I could look at nice, clean handwriting. Let's try to actually make this nice. Spitfire, lunchbox, yellow, hybrid sweet, hybrid sweet. I know that these need to be grouped together. And this is something that I'm going to continue doing for next season because I need to visualize what I'm doing before I do it. By the way, I'm not trying to take credit for anything that I'm doing here. I don't know if somebody else has done it. This is just what I've been discovering works for me really well along the way. Like, oh, it would be so nice to actually know what I'm sowing before I go out there. And on my spreadsheet, I showed my spreadsheet a couple videos ago. What I ultimately want to know here is, what is the seed that I'm sowing? Is it a perennial? Is it a fruiting vegetable? Is it a fruit? Alerts here. If something is invasive, like this lemon balm is supposed to be invasive, so I'm going to put that in a container. I don't want to put a bunch of that out in the garden. I want to be mindful of things like that before I put them out. In one of my alerts categories, I've got avoid planting basil next to sage. I don't want things to interact negatively with one another. You notice down here I did highlight these because they'll make great companions. So that was my alert to make sure that I sow a lot of them. I have the germination temperature. I actually haven't really been looking at this column too much, hence the fact that they don't even make sense. I think I must have moved the column over accidentally or something, like temperature 10 to 14. Like that doesn't make sense. The germination category is what temperature I need to keep them at. Do they require vermiculite? So usually if something requires vermiculite, it needs to be surface sown, I've learned. And does it need a humidity dome? Does it need light? These would be things that I would group together. So I would group the lemon balm with, say, something like maybe a digitalis. They have to start around a similar date. Actually, I think I did group lemon balm with the monarda because that has a lot of the same requirements. I also have how many weeks out do I start. So in my spreadsheet, I had a formula where if I enter the number of weeks it takes, it will populate the date to start. That's based on my last frost date of April 10th. The growing section, do I pinch them? Not all of them require to be pinched. That's basically when the plant is really small. Some plants, if you pinch them at a certain point, they'll produce more stems, more buds. This is the important category right here, is how many of each that I have sown. In order for me to know how many soil blocks I needed, I had to go through each of these and decide, okay, how many plants do I want? How many squash plants do I want? Now I have 4 different types of squash plants. If I do 2 of each, that's a good amount of squash. And if they produce a couple fruit, that's a lot of squash. So I want a lot, but I don't want so much that we're just gonna have to be giving it all away. It's the actual number of plants that I intend to start. So I try to stick to this column very closely. And of course, if it's a good companion for something, I make sure to plant a lot of it. 16 marigold in here, and 16 in my size garden in between things is a good amount for my garden. And then this just kind of continues on. So this is something that I am going to use again next year. I have some blank sheets of this because I want to be able to just put these in a binder and fill them out. Maybe I'll just keep the binder here in the greenhouse. That's where I'm going to leave you this week. I'm glad to show you I have started a good amount of things. I'm racing the temperatures right now. I'm just doing everything that I can do to protect against the cold. It's a lot of learning right now, and I just have to keep reminding myself to be patient and give these things time to do what they're going to do. So if you're starting seeds, I guess that's just all we can do, is just be patient. I'm gonna go get out of my work clothes. I'm gonna go have dinner. I post every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern. I will see you soon. This shit. These are great. I love these, but don't put these on until you take your humidity domes off.